Welcome to another interview in our FM Expert series. Today, I'm delighted to welcome Wendy Bartlett. Hi, Wendy. Good to see you.
Hi, thank you for asking me along.
Pleasure. Wendy is the founder and now exec chair at Bartlett Mitchell. And Wendy's going to share with us just really some tips on how to manage catering, whether that's in-house or contract, with some useful pointers. So Wendy, I'm going to hand over to you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. I just suddenly thought I must turn my phone off because I forgot. I'm so used to not going into meetings now. Well, thank you for asking. It's a great initiative. I think it's a great way of sharing knowledge, and knowledge is quite important. And catering, in terms of one of the FM services, it is very important that you keep up to date with it, because it does change quite rapidly and changes very visually. Yeah. So I was thinking about, if I was new to FM and I had to know about catering, what would I need to know? And not so much that you need to know everything. It's like anything in FM. What you need to know is the person who knows everything, yep. So the expert in their field, so that you can go and find them and get your trusted resource from there. Yep. So I was thinking about what I would need to know. And also I would stress that's not because you're maybe not managing it now, but think that you may go for a job that involves catering. Absolutely. And catering is quite unique in FM, is that your employees of that building will be handing over their own cash. It's the only time that they're investing in that service that you provide. So I think if I was joining that area within my FM role, I would be thinking about, I want clarity from the board or from the senior, or just get a feel culturally wise. Where do they think catering sits? What value does it add? And what do they want it to show, i.e. the big bosses? So if it's cheap, nasty, just the minimum, which is probably the cheapest to provide because no one buys it, therefore you don't have to provide much of a service, that reflects quite badly on a culture of a building. Yeah. Whereas if it's great food, it engenders a really nice heart of the building space. It's the only place where a CEO and a cleaner would be mixing. It's a very good place for sharing ideas, getting departments down to mix together that normally maybe wouldn't. It serves a very big social role within the culture and within a building. It is the heart of the building. Yeah. So I would want to understand probably a little bit about that. And that's talking maybe to senior board level people that are using it, maybe post people who don't get paid as much. What sort of things are they looking for? So have clarity about what that building is looking for, so that you're not trying to mismatch what you're providing with what the expectations are.
And I think that's really important, speaking to a cross section, because it's very easy to focus on the leadership team who are signing off the money, but actually they might not be the people who are coming in buying the food because they're having
absolutely. Yeah. So post, the physical workers, the IT guys are always our best customers, and certainly for breakfast. Yeah. So, they're very important people to focus on. And you can't have, sometimes we'll have a big shit senior leader go, oh no, it needs to be steak and we want, we'll pay £8. Yeah. So we have something called deal issues, which is where we focus on a £2 meal. And the reason we do that is in order to make sure those lesser paid people are also able to gain something. And the other thing is, you're not trying to feed everyone everything every day. What contract catering or in-house caterers, it doesn't matter which, are trying to do is provide a service to the customers in order to make that experience of coming to work better. And also you have to remember, if you had only pret-a-manger as the only place you were going to eat, you'd pretty much get fed up of that food every day. Yeah. So when you go to a high street, I'll go to Pret's, I'll go to the local Chinese, I'll go to Mark's. There's a big choice out there for you. Yeah. When you come to contract to catering on site, what we're doing is we have the same customers, so we have to change the food. Pret's or a high street, they have the same food, but the customers change. Yeah. So there's quite a big difference there. So be very clear about what you want to provide. And if you provide coffee and just coffee service, a coffee bar, a juice bar, don't design it to make it look like that it will then have the ability of food. Because whatever you provide, people always want a bigger picture of it. Okay. So where you have services that are cut down to just a small service, customers are like, oh, well, I feel cheated because I can see all this space. I feel I should have more. So
Okay.
I think it's really important to match that. And the thing about food and service is people are experiencing that outside in a big way. It's something that they're passionately interested about themselves, maybe as chefs, a wine connoisseur, coffee. Everyone's a coffee connoisseur now. They are all experts in it. They're not experts in fixing your lifts. They're not experts in the air conditioning or keeping, you know, how do you keep an office clean, but they're all experts in what the food offer is.
You're right.
And, you know, they can have long conversations about the correct, you know, making of a macchiato or something. So you've got to, you know, you've got to keep up with your trends, see where that is, and think really hard about what that offer is and what you're trying to achieve. Certainly in these times when people don't want to go to the high street, what are you providing that comfort service? And it is sort of a comfort service. There's a little rainfall that falls as people walk into the offices and they feel it's going to be highly subsidised. Their food's going to be much cheaper. I don't know what, it's a little waterfall that just changes their attitude as they walk in. And that's very hard to overcome. So people are expecting value because they're parting with their own money. Nowhere else in your building will they be parting with money to provide that service, in most cases. So it's really important that you think about, well, actually, it's got to provide great value for money. So buying the cheapest doesn't always do that. That's quite damaging. I think it's very damaging, actually, to what you can spend millions on your culture, but if you need to reflect it through your whole building, because if you're selling rubbish sausages that are the cheapest quality, but you're trying to sell a high-end item, then as your own, you know, client offer, that doesn't balance within your, you know, within your culture, really. It's sort of mixed messages. So it's very important you understand the budget and the profit and loss of, because what happens with us is the sales, i.e. the money comes through the till, does not always cover the cost of the overheads, which is the labour, the provision of cleaning, disposables, all that sort of stuff.
Wendy, when I started out in my FM career and I started looking after budgets, the one budget I used to dread having to get my head around was the catering budget and the monthly invoices that came in, because I always found it so confusing with all the P&L and everything. So I think anything that FMs can do to kind of understand that better would be helpful, because I think people are still a bit scared of it. They don't understand them fully. I don't know why, but they just don't.
No, and it is because it is very easy. It's what's in the till has to cover your overheads, and what isn't covered is what ends up the subsidy. Now, with contract caterers, if you go to the larger contract caterers, they've got set systems that they have to do. And it's absolutely set. This is how it has to be laid out. If you go to a smaller caterer or go to a consultant, they will explain it to you. And even find yourself a friendly caterer, even if it's not the caterer that you're with at the moment. Find yourself a friendly caterer and a friend that will help you, not to sell to you, but to help you understand. And it is very simple, but what I think sometimes caterers try to explain it in their language, and because you're not in our world, that's where it gets miscovered. In fact, we have expert guides on bartlettmitchell.co.uk, and there are expert guides there, and one of them is how to understand your accounts, how to understand food inflation, how to understand the type of contracts, whether it's fixed price, cost plus. So we actually have expert guides on our website, and if you look at LinkedIn Bartlett Mitchell and follow that, we quite often post those expert guides. Basically, for that reason, if anyone asks us a lot of questions, we think, oh, we'll write an expert guide. And, you know, always call the caterer and say, look, can someone come and chat? Am I doing the right thing? Always go out and see what else is out there with other caterers too. Go and see what's happening in the market. It's a very visual part of an FM world. So you have to understand sort of the finances of it, which actually are quite simple. It's how much money covers the cost of running it. The rest your client has to pick up or not, depending how large the size is. Quick gauge on that. If you've got less than 1,000 people in a building, don't ask for nil subsidy. It will be a bad service and it just won't work. if you think that Starbucks will not entertain any site that isn't, you know, got more than 1,000 people an hour walking through past your door, you have to ring, that's nil subsidy, i.e. all the revenue that comes through the till is covering the cost. And there's no way that happens in most of our buildings. And then you need to think about the health and safety aspects. Now that's quite vast in our world, and there's quite a lot of like nutritional data and allergen data, the risk assessments for all the different things that you're doing around the building, all to do with food safety, health safety. In general, I would say most health safety experts don't really have that specialist knowledge on that factor. And if you employ a caterer, contract caterer, we will do all that for you. There's nothing you have to worry about. But there is a lot to keep up with. So whether you're just providing a cup of tea and a sandwich from Pretz in your office, you still need to have a knowledge base of how that is done. And especially 2P employment law, you know, things you have to do for your team, uniforms, loos, all that sort of thing. So it's quite a complicated world, but there are experts out there, and my advice is to find yourself a friendly expert to guide you through that, you know, that area. I've got friends in FM I've never done business with, but I'm always happy to pick up the phone because I can tell them in 2 minutes what would take them, you know.
This session already would have helped people understand budgets more and some of the pointers. And like you say, that's all it is. It's just having a bit of knowledge, isn't it? Having a bit of knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wendy, I'm conscious of time. I think there's probably another conversation in this because you've got so much knowledge to share. But I will, for now, say a huge thank you for that because you've covered so much ground in what is a short period of time. So thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks.